to all of you friends and followers. I'm coming on to make another video quite simply because I received so many comments and emails and messages and thanks and gratitude from people who really do appreciate hearing voices of solution, voices speaking out in the current times. And I know that a lot of people are really grateful for the messages and the videos that I make. And there is, on the other side of that, a feeling with me of like, how can I possibly impact anything, you know? I mean, I'm just a lone voice speaking out. But on the other hand, I also know that we are individually like pebbles being thrown into the lake. The ripples of every action, every message, every video that we make, every action we take have a cumulative impact. And the more people who are creating those ripples, the more powerful the changes, the change to the energy we can make. Now, this has been a very intense and challenging week. I'm not going to cover it in this video, but I have received responses from my MP. I received 2 letters in response. One was a personal letter and another seemed to be a template about Priti Patel. I'm not going to cover them in this video, and I may well do a separate video and read out those responses. However, the key realization from reading the responses from my MP, from following everything that's going on in the media, from also following people like Simon Dolan and Michael Bernicia. Forgive me, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but people who are trying to take legal action against the UK government. None of these things are working. And the realization to me is that we are not going to solve or transform the situation by using the same system and by the same energy that created it. And I've been really tuning in and feeling into this and meditating. And I've also been following a lot of spiritual, more metaphysical, esoteric speakers and leaders. And my feeling, along with many others now, is that the solution has to be a metaphysical one. It's like we have to take the energy up a couple of octaves and we have to move the music from minor to major, and we have to shift things energetically. That is what is going to be the real transformational solution. Because if you tune into what's going on and if you look at what's happened throughout history, the way that the system has locked down power over the grid, over the matrix, over the grid of illusion, the way that power has been locked down is through dissonance, creating dissonance. And the one of the key ways to create dissonance is fear, quite simply fear. War, trauma, taking things, taking people off balance, moving people into fight, flight. All of these things have the effect of pulling us out of our center and pulling us out of that 0 point of harmonic resonance, which is why I spend so much time now really tending to my own energy, going out into nature, coming back to that stillness, to that vertical alignment, to that 0 point where I'm at peace. Now, if you were to look at that resonance, the grid of chi, it's like a perfect mandala. So anything that is perfectly natural, that is healthy, that is pure, that is peaceful, it's basically in harmony. So its mandala, its energy field is perfect, it's symmetrical, it's beautiful, if you think of the most beautiful flower or the most beautiful fragrance or taste, they have a perfect mandala, and it's a perfect harmonic resonance. However, when you if you consider things like chaos and dis-ease and fear, and when things are rotten, if you were to look at the mandala of those, you'll see that the energy goes into chaos. And so creating dissonance is one of the key tools to bring us out of that harmonic, peaceful resonance where we are all powerful, and it throws us off kilter and it takes us off center. So coming back to that harmonic resonance is really, really important. And one of the things that you may know is that in the 1930s, actually, I think it was in 1939, and I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this was led by the Nazis. There was a change in the musical tuning, where originally all instruments were tuned to 432 hertz, which is the A above middle C was 432 hertz, which is based on a natural solfeggio harmonic, which is in tune with the Schumann resonance. And that A above middle C was moved to 440 hertz. And it's quite an interesting thing, because in moving that, moving all of the instruments and making that the standard note from which everything was tuned, 440 hertz, what it had the impact of creating a dissonance from the natural harmonic of nature. So that may not seem like a very symbolic thing, but it serves to explain how pulling us off center creates a tension and a dis-ease in the grid. And when people are in that place of dissonance, then they're much more easily triggered, much more easily pulled off center, much more easily pulled into fight response, which is anger, or flight response, which is fear, or the other one is the freeze response, where we simply dissociate and we numb out and we detach because we can't cope with reality. An interesting thing, actually, because I was lucky enough to inherit a piano, and I had it brought up from London and retuned. It had to, when you move a piano, it goes out of tune. So I had it retuned, and I asked the piano tuner to tune the piano to 432 hertz to solfeggio. And it's quite interesting, because he told me, he knew all about this. And he told me that the story that when that diktat happened in the 1930s, in 1939, where all the musical instruments had to be retuned to 440 as the standard A above middle C, the 440 hertz frequency, a lot of the classical instruments refused to be retuned. So a lot of these antique pianos, and they just wouldn't take this dissonant frequency. A very interesting story. So my feeling on this is that the solution for what is unfolding, which is like a bulldozer now, the bulldozer of no one's listening, MPs aren't responding, it's just things are now just being bulldozed through, and mass vaccinations are coming through, and anyone who speaks out about it, if you look on Facebook, it's being deleted. If you search anti-vax in Facebook, you just get World Health Organization and Johns Hopkins University pro-vax content. I mean, the amount of censorship is shocking. So we are up against a bulldozer which is forcing through a master plan, and we're not going to be able to stop that bulldozer using the techniques of the bulldozer. We have to work from a higher metaphysical, magical level to pattern interrupt this master plan. Now, part of that, I just really want you to understand here that our spelling is really important, because words have tremendous power, and the spelling of the English language has tremendous power. And I've heard and I've noticed a lot of people saying that they are, we need to fight. We are spiritual warriors. This is a fight, a battle between light and dark. I urge you to remove all spelling from your vocabulary, which hinges on the words war, warrior, battle, fight. All of this energy of anger, fight, battle, war is all part of the problem. It creates dissonance. And at an energetic level, whatever we push against, whatever we fight, is what we manifest more of. So it's vitally important that we change the key and move the energy up a couple of octaves, so that we are creating from a place, a much higher level of harmonic resonance, and not play into the dissonance that is being created and the fear that is being created. And this can just simply be just going about our normal day, just in that place of peace and not being in a place of fear. I mean, I just walk into shops just like I normally do, and I have just got such a centered energy now. People don't even ask me, like, where's your mask? Why aren't you wearing your mask? I'm just like, I am what I am. And it's kind of, there's a resonance to how I'm being that that is unquestionable. And I really feel this is what we have to live and be now. We have to be that. We have to be like the pebbles in the lake, sending out waves of harmonic resonance. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't pattern interrupt, because sometimes when a program is running through a kind of hypnotic state where there is a deep subconscious program running, sometimes it's actually quite a good thing to wake people up with a pattern interrupt. And this is quite often done in trauma healing. So it's like it's creating a sudden dissonance, which is a bit like waking someone from a sleep. And it's quite interesting because we had an incident here this morning where there was a lot of shooting outside, very close to the house, just shotguns. And there was a man standing by the river shooting birds from the sky, and they were dropping out of the sky. And I actually went out in my pajamas in the garden and stood on the garden bench. And we're in a valley here, so I knew my voice would echo. And I just screamed at the top of my voice, "Stop it. This is murder. Stop the shooting. These are innocent birds. Stop murdering innocent birds." And I just literally was just like, just a barrage of pattern interrupt. And it's quite interesting because they're actually, and I didn't actually realize this till afterwards, but there were actually 7 Range Rover Land Rovers and at least a dozen, if not more, people outside gathering for this shoot. It's an interesting thing as well, because of course we're here, I'm digressing here, but we're here in Derbyshire, which is tier 3 lockdown. So I can't even legally have a friend come over to my house for a cup of tea. And yet, and I can't have someone into my garden. I can't have a group of friends in my garden even. I can't go to the pub. There's no restaurants open. It's next stage to lockdown. We're in tier 3, the most severe restriction. And yet it's okay for a whole group of people with shotguns to gather and to shoot birds. I mean, it's just like, what is going on, people? So yes, pattern interrupting, just to come back to what I was saying, pattern interrupting and that very strong no. We do not consent. No, this is not acceptable. No, I do not comply. Sometimes that is enough to cut through. So it's important sometimes to create that pattern interrupt, that sudden dissonance, which creates a wave which wakes people up. The dissonance which the system creates is a drip feed. It's a constant pulling us off center. It's media. It's a bit like in the 1984 Orwellian movie that I mentioned the other day, where there's the constant media stream, where there's the television which is constantly talking about war in Eurasia, and it's constantly having people saying, yes, I defied and I am guilty and I am ashamed of myself and I did wrong. And it's that constant bombardment of media, of dissonance. And even if you go to the cities, you notice the whole thing is set up for dissonance. Cities are not built to be harmonically resonant. And that's why it's so beautiful to be living here in the country where there is a lot of harmonic resonance naturally. So I really encourage you to spend as much time as you can in nature, because it naturally brings us into harmonic resonance. So I really feel that we are coming into, well, I know that we are coming into a very intense period, energetically, astrologically. In about a week's time, there is a solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse. It's happening on the 14th of December, and it's going to be visible from across South America, so not here in the UK where I am. They say, astrologers say, that when there is a total solar eclipse, the king will fall. Essentially, it is the moon coming in front of the sun and blocking out the light of the sun. So the moon is a tiny, tiny rock compared to the vastness of the sun. So this really is like David and Goliath. But what a solar eclipse symbolizes is that this tiny rock in alignment can completely obliterate the huge, huge power of the sun. So in this solar eclipse, it is a very symbolic and powerful analogy and opportunity for the evolved feminine to trump is not quite the correct word, but eclipse, to eclipse the huge solar power of that yang masculine energy. So holding this perfect alignment, it's the perfect alignment that is the key to a solar eclipse. And another interesting piece of trivia, if you look at the path of the last total solar eclipse, which happened in 2017, it went across the United States and across, and I think it was pretty much at its maximum potency over Georgia. So very interesting that now, because Georgia is one of those key states, and there was Carolina, it's the part, if you can Google it, look at the path of the 2017 solar eclipse. It's quite uncanny, because those are the states which are the swing states which caused Trump to lose his power. The other thing that is happening later this month is, of course, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction at 0 degrees of Aquarius, which is happening on the winter solstice, the 21st of December. And the winter solstice is a very powerful point, literally solstice. Thank Richard Ashworth for this, because I'm on his I Ching training, and we had a session last night. Solstice literally means the sun is still. So it is the turning point of the sun, from the sun contracting down to its minimum impact, at least in the northern hemisphere. And it's the turning point from which the days start getting longer. It is the return of the light, and it's very symbolic because it heralds the Christ consciousness, the Christmas, the Christ Mass, the birth of Jesus, the return of the light. And of course, another great analogy to this is that if you want to expel the darkness, there's no point fighting. You can't fight darkness. All you have to do is light, is introduce light, to light a candle, and one candle obliterates the entire darkness. And just one final thing, just on this note, I've been revisiting an amazing book by Paul Levy called Dispelling Wetiko, Breaking the Curse of Evil. And this is all about how evil, non-local energy is working through this material realm, and it's working through people who are traumatized and who have, it's like working through cracks and rifts and tears in the energetic grid. So the those people who are behind what is going on, it's like having compassion for them, because it is Wetiko energy which is working through them. I mean, it's too much for me to explain, but if you're interested, I really urge you to get hold of this book, Dispelling Wetiko, Breaking the Curse of Evil by Paul Levy, because not only does it explain what is going on energetically, it also provides a lot of solutions. And one of them is indeed holding this light of conscious awareness, because Wetiko energy thrives in the darkness. It's like Dracula. It has to go back into its coffin before the light of the dawn. And so the more that we can shine the light of conscious awareness onto what is going on, the more that we can point out that the emperor is wearing no clothes, the more that we can bring it into the light, the some of the trickery and the manipulation and the dissonance which is being created, the more that we can bring that into the light, shine the light of conscious awareness onto it, bring harmonic resonance into it, vision a different way of being. All of these things have tremendous power. So I really do urge you, and I know I certainly am spending a lot of time, as well as looking at all of the problems and being fully aware of what is going on, to keep turning my energy and keep in my mind's eye visioning the kind of life, the kind of earth, the kind of home that I want to create within myself, within my house, within my family, within my community, within the world. So this is like a pebble which ripples out. So we have to keep visioning what we do want. We have to keep praying. We have to keep setting intentions, and we have to keep energizing that, because there is a greater intelligence working here. There is a powerful, infinite organizing intelligence that when we set our intention, when we vision, when we pray, when we set those intentions, the infinite intelligence responds, and it rearranges reality to match that to that vision and intention. So all it takes is enough people, and I'm only talking about a critical mass here, and it's probably something like 144,000 people with a combined focused intention on the world that we do want to create. That is enough to create that pattern interrupt, that shift, that metamorphosis as we move into this new golden era, because that is what is being heralded. And so what we are seeing in truth is the old patriarchal system in the last dying days gripping onto power, and but in truth it is losing its power and it is falling away. And the more that we can vision the world that we do want, the more we open a birth canal. It's a good way to think of it, is that we are holding open a portal of energy so that we can create and we can manifest a much more benevolent, prosperous, loving, peaceful, harmonic future for ourselves, for our families, for our children, for our children's children. And we can create a new way of being on this planet, which is in harmonic resonance, which is in harmony with Gaia, in harmony with nature, where we don't need to inject ourselves with nanotechnology and alter our DNA, where we can return to a natural way of being and living on this planet, which is in harmonic resonance. So that is my message for today. And I can see lots of live chat here, and I'm sorry I haven't been reading and responding because I just wanted to stay focused on my message. And I just wanted to leave you with what is a wonderful prayer to close this call. This is the Great Invocation, which was channeled by Alice Bailey. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men. The purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door to where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Lots of love.